know it don't matter anyway. Say money, money won't get you too far, get you too far.
Well, but aim low, and I'll make it known like I'm getting paid.
I've never met you, but I wanted to invite you to the party. And you walked in with those green eyes, never stolen by nobody. And they flicker to the future. For a moment I could picture. Then you touch me and I come back, and we're talking on the staircase about your big dreams on the big screens. Out of Georgia now, you're lonely in this city, lying with me, and you're scared it's moving quickly. Oh, now you're crying, you're in pieces, cause the only love you've ever known is Jesus. I can feel it, oh I hate it out, the reason that you're in your head right now, while your world is spinning out. So slow it down, take a moment now. We're too young to drown, deep in dirty waters full of hope is down. Let me pull you out, let me hold you now, let me slow it down. Ain't it funny how it changes, how the future rearranges? I get nervous, oh I'm anxious, maybe loving you is dangerous. I could lose you like the others, only girl that's never let me is my mother. Oh I love her, and I know you probably hate it, but I'm in my head right now. So slow it down, take a moment now. We're too young to drown, deep in dirty waters full of hope
It is 6:54 a.m. in Starbase, Texas, a gorgeous sunrise, and Starship is targeting liftoff in just 30 minutes and 18 seconds from now at 7:25 a.m. Central Time. As you can see, it is a beautiful day in South Texas for the 5th flight test of Starship. Good morning, Star people. I'm Kate Tice.
And I'm Jesse Anderson, and we are joining you live from SpaceX Hawthorne with a great big crowd here this morning. It's been roughly 4 months since our last Starship flight, and we've got a big morning ahead of us.
Flight 5, has a few primary objectives and one big first. We may be attempting to catch the Super Heavy booster. The teams at Starbase have been hard at work around the clock upgrading hardware across the entire tower with focus on the chopsticks, the 2 mechanical arms that will reach out and catch the returning booster. We're only going to attempt the catch if everything on the booster and tower checks out after launch, but either way, excitement is definitely guaranteed.
Definitely. Today's Starship features a completely reworked heat shield with stronger tiles and a secondary layer, which is an extra layer of protection for the ship that will protect from any of the that will help protect if there's any missing or damaged tiles. Now, not only did we replace the entire heat shield with our newest generation of stronger tiles for today's flight, we'll also be flying a handful of aluminum tiles that are there to help the team understand the thermodynamic environment during re-entry. If you were with us for Flight 4, you'll know how hard those heat shield tiles worked during the ship's re-entry.
Did they ever? As you can see there, they worked incredibly hard. This big heat shield rework that we're talking about promises to increase the likelihood of Starship being better protected during controlled re-entry as it heads towards its flip maneuver and landing burn for a soft splashdown on target in the Indian Ocean, just like we did in Flight 4. And we'll have to wait and see. Keep your fingers crossed, but we may have some new views in store for you today as well.
Right, like all test flights, we want to learn as much as possible, and views of Starship during all phases of flight help us to keep improving the vehicle for recovery and reuse.
Now, thinking forward to when Starship is flying regularly, it will take the heaviest payloads to space, land humans on the moon again after more than half a century, and ultimately fly people further into space than ever before. And getting there will require us to rapidly iterate and fly often, which is why we're working so hard to scale operations at Starbase.
Yeah, the faster that we learn now, the faster we can improve and evolve Starship to achieve reliable flights and rapid reusability. We've been designing this vehicle from day one to realize a vision of having an entire city of people on Mars, something we know will take launching millions of pounds of cargo and equipment into space spread across thousands of flights. This future will require many Starships that can fly again and again, and today's flight is a critical step on that path.
So buckle up your seatbelts because here we go. The moon and Mars are not nearly as far in the future as you may think. In fact, we're planning to send Starships to Mars as soon as 2026.
You might be familiar with the Starlink logo, and there you can see it on your screen. It's an iconic representation of the Mars Transfer Orbit, also called the Hohmann Transfer Orbit. This is how fundamental Mars is to SpaceX. This transfer window, or a time when the Earth and Mars are the closest to each other, opens every 26 months and is only open for about 2 to 3 months at a time for a vehicle with Starship's power. And it just so happens that the next Mars transfer window opens in 2 years towards the end of 2026.
Yeah, lining up a launch to Mars is similar to how we launched to the International Space Station, where we time launches to match the station's orbit. If we didn't do this, we'd need more propellant and more time to get there.
Exactly. So the first opportunity that we have to fly Starships to Mars, we plan on doing it. These first flights to Mars will be uncrewed and will test the reliability of landing intact. If those landings go well, the first crewed flights will follow soon after.
So it's safe to say it's all happening, and flights like today's are what's going to get us there. Not only have we made several improvements to the Starship flying today based on what we've learned from our last flight, including extensive upgrades to Starship's hardware and software, we've also made improvements to the launch tower and catch mechanisms.
And if you've noticed in some of the live views this morning, our teams have completed stacking the second launch tower, which will be coming online next year. Having 2 operational launch towers paired with ships and boosters rolling off the line in our new Star Factory will allow us to increase our flight cadence and test even more rapidly. And just a few miles away from the 2 towers, things are moving really fast at the heart of Starbase. Star Factory is rapidly coming online, with production teams already using the space as construction continues. The 1 million square foot Star Factory brings many parts of the manufacturing process under one roof for the first time, enabling moving as much system integration work as possible earlier in the build process, with the goal of eventually producing hundreds of starships a year.
That's crazy. It's such an impressive building. So, for example, teams can assemble an entire nose cone structure of a ship into a single piece and work on its internal systems all in one place. So if you're working on Starship and you have a question about the steps that you're working that happen before or after yours, instead of having to leave the building and go and find the person or the team with the answer or waste time sending an email and waiting for their response, odds are you're right next to that person or team, and now you're working right alongside them, so you don't have to wait for a response.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it a lot more efficient and faster to communicate. So not only are we rapidly iterating on these spacecraft themselves, but we're also innovating the way that they're made.
It's almost too much to keep up with.
We're also posting updates on our account on X if you can't keep up. That'll help you. So if you don't already, make sure that you follow us at SpaceX on X. And I have a feeling it's going to get pretty busy.
Oh, that is definitely an understatement.
And it's definitely going to be very exciting today. So with that, let's meet today's Starship on the pad. Starship features 2 major parts, the ship, which has 6 Raptor engines, and the Super Heavy booster, which has 33 Raptor engines. The current iteration of Starship is essentially an experimental vehicle flying for development. With a few planned upgrades, Starship will have 3 times the thrust of Saturn V, plus the added benefit of full reusability. Starship 2 will be capable of carrying more than 100 tons to orbit, and Starship 3 will be able to lift more than 200 tons to orbit. The amount of mass we're able to launch per rocket is crucial to creating a self-sustaining city on Mars.
Now, to get a sense of how big Starship is, let's start with the average size human, which is about 2 meters high. Towering over our average human is the length of the Millennium Falcon, which comes in at 35 meters. Our Falcon 9 rocket, with the payload fairing attached, is double the size of the Millennium Falcon, standing at 70 meters. And nearly twice the size of that is the fully integrated Starship at 121 meters tall. The ship itself is about 50 meters tall, and the Super Heavy booster alone stands about 71 meters. And even crazier, eventually the ship and booster will get even taller with future design iterations.
Can't imagine it being taller than that. Starship's first stage has a diameter of roughly 2.5 times that of Falcon 9, and with 33 much larger Raptor engines, which you can see there on your screen. Moving up the vehicle, the ship features 6 Raptors, 3 sea-level engines, and 3 vacuum engines, which are optimized to operate in the vacuum of space. The ship is designed for vertical takeoff and landing on any hard surface, like the surface of the moon. The ship is also outfitted with 4 flaps to help aerodynamically control the vehicle's...
That for a second. Here. Okay. I think things are working.
The ship's heat shield is composed of...
I'm trying to hear multiple things at once, and things don't go great. Okay. Let's see. Go here. Put this up to here. That should work. We're just gonna go with that. Okay. This is Starship launch 5, IFT5. The first ever time this entire booster will be caught. Oh, I forgot. Oh, you can't even mess. This entire booster will be caught in the arms. First time ever. If it works, it is going to be insane to
Duration
actually see.
ascent burn. I love the view of the sound
Like
waves there.
being caught in there.
Following separation, Super Heavy booster successfully completed its flip maneuver, boost back burn as well to send it toward the splashdown zone, and it also jettisoned the hot stage adapter, as you can see there. We don't have to jettison that adapter in future iterations because it'll be a different design. Now, as you can see here, the booster is returning back to Earth using those hypersonic grid fins to steer it towards a precise landing in the Gulf of Mexico. The
much
footage
is
that we have
walking?
coming up here, there it is from the buoy. I still remember seeing
Talk about
this
this
on
again.
X for the
This is
first
real.
time, and it was so incredible to see that booster coming down, ending its flight with a soft splashdown 7 minutes and 24 seconds into the flight, and the crowd went wild.
And so did we. Starship's 6 second stage Raptor engine successfully powered the vehicle to space and placed it on a trajectory that would re-enter less than 1 orbit later
Okay.
over the Indian Ocean.
We are
And following a
19
coast phase in
minutes
space,
and 30
Starship
seconds
re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, successfully making it through the phases of peak heating and max
Hopefully launch.
aerodynamic pressure, and demonstrating the ability to control the
This is
vehicle
gonna be like
using
every other
its
Starship
flaps
stream.
while descending through
I'm
the
gonna be
atmosphere at
not
hypersonic
talking a lot.
speeds.
It's gonna be
And of
just
course,
them
Starlink
talking.
on
It's not gonna be
Starship
me talking
once
a lot.
again enabled real-time telemetry and live
So you might be
high
able to see
definition video throughout every
up here,
phase of entry, with external
have
cameras
the
providing
entire,
views all the way
flight
to the
plan.
flight's conclusion.
Flight 4
So you
ended
can
with
see where it
Starship,
launches and then it flips
with,
around and
again, the crowd going
gets caught.
bonkers,
And down
with
here,
Starship
I have
igniting
the
its 3
entire,
center Raptor engines and executing the first flip
setup.
maneuver and landing burn that we had
So you can
seen
see at
since
the
our
top,
high
go,
altitude
which is way
campaign.
past. We're
And that was
down.
followed by a soft splashdown of the ship in the Indian Ocean 1 hour and 6 minutes later.
And we
So
were
it should've
all
started,
glued to the monitors,
Raptor
watching
shield.
the little flap that
And
could
we're
the
not gonna get
whole
another
way
one until
down.
3.5 minutes.
Seeing the landing burn and splashdown was an incredible moment for the entire SpaceX team, and we'll be looking out for many more of these incredible moments today.
All right, so while today's mission profile is similar to Flight 4, we got a couple new test objectives, including catching the booster back at the launch tower.
In about 18 minutes from now, Super Heavy will ignite its 33 Raptor engines and lift off from Starbase. A little more than 2.5 minutes into flight, the Super Heavy booster will separate
if-
from
if
the
it's
ship
actually launched,
in
it's
a
not-
hot stage separation.
I say the same
After
thing
that
every
separation,
launch, but
the booster will perform a flip maneuver followed by a boost back burn. And about 2 seconds after that burn ends, we'll jettison the booster's hot stage. As it heads back towards the ground, the booster will either attempt a landing, will have a landing burn, but then will either return to the tower or splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico.
Meanwhile, the ship's engines will remain lit
So
for just
the
under 6
mission-
minutes during its
mission
ascent
control has
phase
to
before shutting down
manually
for the
send a
coast.
command to the
The ship
booster
will
to tell it
coast
to come
for
back.
about
If
40
they don't
minutes or
send it,
so,
it'll just
reaching a
land
peak
over.
altitude of about 213 kilometers. After that coast phase, the ship will be attempting a controlled re-entry, including a flip maneuver and landing burn, like we saw on Flight 4, just before splashing
Hopefully stay
down
on
in the
path this
Indian
time.
Ocean. Now, we say attempting because, again, this is just a test
not
and
a
nothing
guarantee.
is guaranteed.
Except excitement.
Ah, well, of course there is that. Now, both the booster and ship have to contend with some extreme conditions on re-entry, which is where those heat shield tiles will be put to the test.
They remade the
For
entire
this
heat
flight
shield
test,
for
we
this
do not
launch.
expect to recover any hardware from the ship. With the exception of Falcon, this is no different than what happens to most rockets flying today that are expended, meaning that they fall into the ocean after completing their mission.
Raptors
Eventually, we
actually
will return and reuse
for
Super
the
Heavy boosters
physical
and starships
support.
as we do today with Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy boosters. And in fact, we've landed Falcon boosters 352 times to date.
Oh, man, I hear you say that number, and that is just wild. I still remember the night, or at least most of the night, that that Falcon landed for the first time, and it still feels like yesterday.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite moments at SpaceX. And returning Super Heavy promises to be an even more impressive sight and a huge moment on the road to rapid reusability.
Yeah, speaking of rapid reusability, future Starship designs will give Super Heavy boosters a lighter weight and integrated hot stage intended for full reusability, which will mitigate the need to jettison the hot stage like we'll do today. Similarly, even though ship recovery is not expected, the telemetry and data we receive all the way to the end is what we're hoping, or excuse me, what we're looking for, and is what will get us to a rapidly reusable Starship of the future.
Yeah, exactly. In other words, just like previous Starship flights, the payload for this mission is the
Is the
data.
data.
All right, Now that we have a handle on today's flight test, let's
50
check in with
minutes.
Dan, who is right in the middle of the
Dan's
action.
on-
He's just a few
in the building
kilometers
this
from
time.
Starship on the pad. How's it going, Dan?
It's going great, Jesse. Welcome back to Starbase, everybody. It's been far too long. Little change of scenery this time. Right behind me is the Launch Control Center, where our flight controllers are counting down to our liftoff at 7:25 a.m. Central. We are a little bit later in our window. The main reason is we're working to clear out the range. Have not been tracking any technical issues so far to
We were looking
preclude
at,
that
I was
launch.
looking at the traffic
So
of boats
7:25
earlier,
a.m.
and there was
Central, 12:25
150 boats in
UTC is
there.
where we're marching down to. As you can see, we're actively loading propellants onboard Super Heavy and Starship. Liquid
try and
methane
poke
for your
the,
fuel, liquid oxygen for the
live.
oxidizer. Prop load on the ship started at about T-minus 49 minutes, booster at T-minus 40 minutes. We're going to keep loading propellants on those vehicles right down to the wire. Ship will close out at about 3 minutes and 20 seconds before T0, and then booster just about 30 seconds later. Now, with our startup sequence, it's going to look very similar to what you saw on Flight 4. We already tested it with this booster and its static fire. We're going to see the Raptors start to make fire at about T-minus 3 seconds, and then we'll start them up in 3 different banks. The first inner 13 will fire, and then about a second later, 15 of the outer ring engines, and then about 0.8 of a second after that, those final 5. Another reminder, if we need to hold, we have a built-in spot at
minutes.
T-minus 40 seconds. We can hold for stuff like if we need to finish clearing the range or if any other technical issues pop up, just kind of in the last second. But if there's nothing holding us back, we're going to go right past that and go down to 0. So, I mean, as of right now, we're just under 14 minutes away from liftoff, not working any technical issues. Range is expected to clear. We're just clearing out a few more boats. And as you can see, the weather is perfect. We had a 100% go for launch from the weather officer, so that was pretty unprecedented and something we really like to hear. If we're not able to go today, since we are loading prop, it would likely be about 48 hours before our next attempt. But good thing we're going to launch today. Really looking forward to being able to turn around and see it this time, counting down to 7:25 a.m. Central. And I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. I'll send it back to you in Hawthorne.
Thanks, Dan. Now, one of the most exciting objectives for Flight 5 today is attempting to return the booster to the launch site that you see right there, and it will be caught by the tower. We refer to this simply as booster catch.
As you've heard us say, Starship and Super Heavy are designed to be rapidly reused, which is why we've developed a novel way of returning the vehicles that leverages the same hardware we use for stacking ahead of flight.
Right now, when we recover our Falcon boosters, they either return to a separate landing zone on land or to a drone ship in the ocean, both of which require time to transport the vehicle back to the launch site. In order for us to achieve truly rapid reusability, we need a quicker turnaround, and you can't get much faster than returning the launch vehicle right back to the launch site
right
where
now,
it needs to be in order to launch again.
It's looking
For
pretty
today's
clear
booster
from
catch
set.
attempt, while there are thousands of criteria
Actually,
that need to be
there's a
met,
lot of boats.
there are
Oh,
3
God.
primary gates that will be in play.
This is
In order to proceed,
tracking
automated
for it.
checks have to indicate
Right
we have a
here
healthy booster and a healthy tower,
where
and the
it
flight
needs to
director
be
must
cleared.
issue a manual command, which is informed by manual checks from the flight
all
control
these
team.
boats need to get out
If
of
this
the way.
command is not sent prior to the completion
single
of the
one
boost
is.
back burn, or
All
if
too
automated health checks show unacceptable conditions with Super Heavy or the tower, the booster will default to a trajectory that takes it to a landing burn and soft splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico.
Now, thinking to the future when we're
Imagine
operational,
seeing this.
after a booster returns to the launch tower, it will be inspected and reloaded with propellants and then ready to launch another ship to orbit. For today's test, however, we're only going to attempt the catch, like Jesse said, if everything on the booster and tower checks out after
Please.
launch.
Please don't
And of
touch
course,
it.
we will let you know as soon as we know if it's a go. We're going to be listening very keenly for that call out. Now, as always,
So
we
they're
accept
actually
no
showing call out.
compromises
That's-
when it comes to the safety of the public and our team.
If
So
they
to
do a
that end,
poll
the area all around
for
the
catching
pad
a
and
booster,
the
that's
flight
gonna be cool
path
to
are
get.
cleared well in advance.
Exactly. A lot of things have to go right in order to line up the booster catch. So don't be surprised if we don't attempt the catch today. Either way, today's flight will generate data that will continue to inform our future flights and help us get to that operational cadence.
Yeah. Oh, you can't
No.
forget what else it will
Come on.
generate.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I mean, I was going to say a sonic boom.
Oh, I was going to say excitement, but that's a really good reminder.
Now, if we do make it to a catch attempt today, Super Heavy may generate a sonic boom upon its return. And
Why
that's
isn't my earplug
basically a
falling down?
Generally, the only impact in those surrounding areas of a sonic boom is the brief noise, with variables like weather and distance impacting if or how the sonic boom is heard. Here's a brief look at how these sonic booms look and sound on Falcon.
I know a lot of people will be excited when they hear the sonic boom.
And these are going to provide quite a show because you're going to hear those sonic booms.
Booster landing leg deployed.
That sonic boom is great for us.
That thunderclap broke the sound barrier.
Side booster separation confirmed.
Just heard the two sonic booms here in the room.
Booster landing confirmed.
As our test flights continue, we plan to demonstrate ship-to-ship propellant transfer, which will be important in preparation for Starship taking astronauts to the moon as part of NASA's Artemis program. SpaceX will perform one uncrewed demonstration flight before NASA's Artemis 3 mission, which will be the first human surface expedition since 1972. Also, in preparation for missions to the moon and Mars, we're gaining tons of knowledge from our human spaceflight missions, including free flyer flights like our recent commercial astronaut mission, Polaris Dawn.
Polaris Dawn was the first of up to 3 missions in the Polaris program, which is demonstrating new technologies, conducting extensive research, and will culminate in a flight of Starship with humans on board.
After nearly 5 days in orbit, Dragon and the 4-person Polaris Dawn crew safely splashed down on September 15th off the coast of Florida, completing the first human spaceflight mission of the Polaris program. The Polaris Dawn crew performed some incredible firsts during their mission. Dragon and the crew reached 1,408.1 kilometers, the highest Earth orbit ever flown, and the farthest humans have been from our planet since the Apollo program.
The crew also performed the first ever commercial EVA, or extravehicular activity. As you can see there, they were wearing the new EVA suits that we developed here in-house.
Look at that.
This was an incredible moment to see Jared and then later Sarah emerge and perform this EVA with Earth behind. Now, in addition to this incredible spacewalk, they also conducted about 36 research studies and experiments from 31 partner institutions, including NASA. And in addition to all of that, they also tested Starlink laser-based communications in space. The data gathered from Polaris Dawn missions is invaluable, much like the data that we're going to see after today's flight test of Starship. So we're coming down to T-minus about 7 minutes. Let's check in with Dan.
Hey, thanks, Kate. So yeah, we're right at about 7 minutes away from launch. The main thing we are still working is that range clear. Again, we have to make sure boats, airspace, everything is cleared out of the way for our ascent corridor, basically the Gulf of Mexico, where we're launching through before we can actually launch. And so we're working on clearing out just a few more boats. We do have a window, remember. So if we end up holding at like a T-minus 40 seconds, we can hold for several minutes, allow those boats to get out of the way, and then we can launch. Our window is from 7 to 7:30 Central, so we don't have a huge amount of time today, but we do have some margin if we need to work with it to still get off the ground today. For now, though, we're coming up on finishing prop load on both vehicles. Header tanks are pretty much topped out on the ship. Those are going to be used for its landing burn. And again, we're going to be closing out all of the prop load at about T-minus 3 minutes, 20 seconds for the ship, and then just 30 seconds later for booster. One kind of cool thing to talk about, so the folks in launch control behind me, after liftoff, they're going to have some pretty special tasks today if we're going to go through with the catch. They're going to be doing some really detailed inspections just visually of all of the different tower systems, a lot of those things that we upgraded, just to make sure that we are in the right posture to actually proceed with the catch. So they'll be working kind of fast and furious behind the scenes to inform the flight director's manual command to send the booster back. So if we hear that command being sent, that's going to be just the roof's going to come off. That's going to be a really exciting moment. So otherwise, if we don't go today, as you guys talked about, there is a chance. And if we don't send the booster back, we'll do a landing burn and a splashdown in the Gulf. And then that's just another landing burn to gather more data, learn more lessons from, and then we'll come back and try the catch again on the next one. But as of right now, we're coming up on 5 minutes.
To see that
there is a chance that we'll hold or extend into the end of our window, so don't be surprised if that ends up happening. But if those boats do get out of the way, we are just about 5 minutes away from
30 minutes
launch.
for the window, but they
I'll
ended
check
up
back in just a moment, but
minutes
back over to you,
after.
Kate and Jesse.
So
Thanks, Dan. Our rapid iterative development approach
have as
has
much
been
time
the basis for
to,
all of
launch
SpaceX's
this time.
major innovative advancements, including Falcon, Dragon, and Starlink. Today, we're testing hardware and systems, and we need to know how they perform under the most extreme conditions. We'd much rather find the bugs now during
they
testing
they
than later
replaced
on
every
when there's
single
more on the
pile
line.
on the heat
And
shield
to
just for
reiterate,
this launch.
we do not,
After the
while
last
we
time
do
when
determine
chunk of the
an
Falcon
acceptable level of technical risk on our vehicle and pad in order to learn as
They
fast
use
as
this
possible,
tower as like
we
a
accept
barrier,
no
everything's around
compromises
it.
when it comes to the safety of the public or our team. So that is to say, this is only the fifth of many future flight tests of Starship before it becomes fully operational.
You might remember the Starlink panels that are incorporated into Starship, and you can see them there on your screen, those rectangular panels on Starship's nose cone. Starlink brings us the epic views in space and on re-entry, and also helps deliver us the critical flight data engineers need to continue development. In addition to enabling our rapid iteration on Starship, Starlink is also enabling life-saving communication here on Earth. SpaceX is sending tens of thousands of Starlink kits in response to Hurricanes Helene and Milton, and providing free service through the end of the year to support recovery efforts. The Starlink team also worked with T-Mobile to activate our direct-to-cell satellites to provide basic texting on T-Mobile and emergency alerts for all phones and carriers of those in affected areas. If a phone connects to a Starlink satellite, it will have 1 to 2 bars of signal and show T-Mobile SpaceX in the network name. SpaceX's direct-to-cell constellation has not been fully deployed, so these services are being delivered on a best effort basis.
Starlink is enabling life-saving communication here on Earth and continues to help us push the limits in space. In the short term, by providing great views and real-time data on our next few flights, particularly through re-entry, which historically is a blackout period for all communications.
It's like you don't know will it happen or will it not happen, and you're just waiting for it.
All right, so we're coming up on 2 minutes 30 seconds away from launch. We're hearing like there's a pretty good chance we're going to hold at T-minus 40 seconds, but surprise, now it sounds like we might not be. So we are just a little over 2 minutes away.
Make up your mind.
A couple more things going to be happening. We did just close out our propellant load on the ship and the booster, so 10 million pounds of propellant on that vehicle on the pad here at Starbase, getting ready to go. We're going to start clearing out all of the lines that are basically pushing all of that propellant to the vehicles. Those get cleaned out or cleared out on the ground before we lift off. We're doing some final checks on the vehicle, the thrust vector control that we're going to use to steer it, as well as the guidance system doing its final alignment, just a lot of our final checkouts. But we are starting to hear that it looks like the range is going to be clear at our liftoff time of 7:25 a.m. Central, 12:25
Please
UTC.
show this camera. They've never showed it at a launch before.
That puts
Maybe
us 1
the camera
minute
doesn't
20
survive it.
seconds
Who knows?
away from launch. Still not tracking any technical issues. That range clear is the only thing that's been potentially poking at our launch. So I'm going to start to quiet down. We'll hear our flight director for today, Tristan Pierce, give some of the final call-outs. As of right now, we are 1 minute away from liftoff.
Are they going through it? Are they going through it? They are. They're going straight through the 40-second hold.
Flight directors go for launch.
Straight through 40 seconds. 20.
Best words you could possibly hear 20 seconds away from liftoff.
15. Wait for the overlay to come up.
T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Please start moving. It's going. It's going.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Oh my god. Straight through the 40 seconds.
Booster after chamber pressure nominal.
Thirty
the
seconds
engines are
into
still
the flight,
going.
the rumble's just starting to reach us here at launch control.
We went straight through the 40 seconds.
Booster and ship,
That
avionics
is the
power,
sound
telemetry nominal.
of 33 Raptor engines.
All good.
Max Q.
Now pass through the maximum aerodynamic pressure, the most stress the vehicle's going to see on the way uphill.
I just don't want a single engine to go out. If the outer ring goes out, it's fine, because they don't get used anyway.
All right, our next major milestone coming up, it's going to be hot staging. We're going to see the engines ignite on ship to push it away from the booster.
See the children in the background screaming.
All right, so hot staging is going to be the next
that
thing coming up.
123
First, we're going to
or
see the
something?
booster's engines start to shut down. All but 3.
A couple tiles fell
We're
off.
going to do what's called most engines cut off instead of main engine cut off, because 3 are going to keep going. And then we're going to see the engines on ship ignite.
All the engines are still there.
Right now, the tower team is doing their go, no go. And we might hear some really good words soon, too. All
Oh,
right.
please.
Can still
Dan
see
sounds
it up
confident.
behind me. That is one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen
Great
in my
fins are
entire life.
turning.
Coming up on hot staging next.
Oh, booster, please survive.
Ship engine
There's
startup.
most engines cut off.
Stage separation. Booster.
It's
booster
going.
Separation, hot stage, separation confirmed.
Oh, booster, please.
Ship under its own power. I'm seeing 6 out of 6 Raptors lit. Hopefully I got a booster on the way back to me. I'm going to send it to you guys in Hawthorne.
Oh man, that was absolutely incredible. I loved how the crowd
Chamber pressure is nominal.
here in Hawthorne
should
all
hear if they're
went
bringing it
ooh
back.
at that first view of the blue flames
In the next
from the
couple
booster.
seconds, see if they're bringing it back.
As
on.
you can see there, first stage currently performing, or
This is
excuse me,
where-
is now making its way back to the launch site. Again, we
This is where you
are
know if it's going.
Avionics power and telemetry nominal.
the booster and the tower are both performing automated checks to make sure we are go for the booster to return to the launch pad for that catch. And once those are complete, the flight director
Booster, boost back burn, shutdown.
Please, it's come back
Flight
on.
directors go for booster return.
And we did hear that the tower is go for catch.
They're going for it.
That was one of the big criteria we were looking for.
They're going.
this view
We'll
here.
wait to hear that the go for catch has been sent.
They said towers.
Beautiful
though, for-
view here
for this
from the
return.
ship.
And so exciting to hear that
Please
we
say
got a go for
Say it.
booster catch. That means it's going to be a really exciting morning. Again, the booster is making its way back towards
Please.
now land in order to make that catch attempt in the tower.
So incredible to see these views. You can see the ship on the right-hand
Need
side
to
of
hear
your
if the
screen.
command's been
All
said.
6 Raptor engines are under full power. Once again, the booster is making its way back to the launch site. We are going to try and catch it using the chopsticks on the launch tower, the exact same tower that
Hot
it
stage
just
ring's
launched
gone.
from just,
That's
wow,
good. They won't
5
do
minutes
that.
ago.
Yeah, and the booster.
Starship on nominal
Guys,
trajectory.
I can confirm the command was sent for the booster to
Yes.
come back.
That is
So I'm
incredible
looking
news.
up right now. It's pretty much right overhead of us, and we can see it starting to come down.
Oh, this is gonna be so.
I
They're
can't
doing-
wait for us to hear the sonic boom through Dan's mic.
Right.
That is going to be incredible. It was so cool to hear the liftoff. And so once again, a successful on-time liftoff of Starship Flight 5. The ship has separated from the booster. The booster is there on your screen. It is making its way back to the launch site. We are going to attempt the catch using the chopsticks. We did hear the confirmation that the command was sent
is gonna
to the
be
tower.
absolutely insane.
We are go for catch.
Look at that.
And in order
And
to.
guys, we should just be about 30 seconds away from our landing
Oh,
burn.
please.
It's going to happen in 3 phases. We're going to land 13 engines, burn off all of that velocity. Oh, we can see it coming down through the plume.
Yeah, please.
Booster coming in hot for booster catch.
Gonna ignite 13 of those Raptor engines, and this view is incredible right now. You can see how fast this vehicle is moving on the left hand.
Stand up. Please.
Landing
Please.
burn has been ignited.
Please.
We're now down to 3
down to
Raptor
3.
engines. We can see those chopsticks now in view.
Oh, please. Oh my god.
Booster having current shutdown.
Megavilla has caught the booster.
This
Oh
is
my god.
absolutely insane.
Oh my god.
First ever attempt we have
The first
successfully
try.
caught the super heavy booster back at the
Oh my god.
What an incredible view!
Oh my god.
Are you kidding me?
Are you joking? Oh my god.
Wow. I don't know about you, but we're losing our stuff up here.
Starship in terminal bed.
Guys,
Are you joking? Like,
I'm sorry. Like, even in this day and age, what
Oh
we
my
just saw,
God.
that looked like magic.
That
Oh,
was-
wow.
Dan,
Wow.
your view must have been insane. We are still going wild over here over this.
Folks, this
Oh my
is
God.
a day for the engineering history books. This is a live view of the Super Heavy booster as it has just
There is
been
fire coming out of the
successfully
quick disconnect.
caught back at the very same launch tower that it
not
just
great.
came from. Dan, I love this. You are
There's fire coming
reflecting
out of the
exactly
quick
what
disconnect.
everybody else here in
Isn't that the best
Hawthorne,
thing?
except maybe a little bit
But
more because you
look
got to
at
see it with
that.
your own eyes.
How was that?
Ship
We
window is
got
cut off.
it. Well, I mean, like, I can't even describe that. Oh, by the way, ship, main engine cut off, ship's in orbit, but
look at it.
I am like shaking right now. That was,
Yeah,
Oh my god.
this is not,
yeah,
I mean,
let's
it's
check in on ship.
it's hard to believe that.
Starship nominal orbit insertion.
All right, exciting news there. It's hard to believe that, booster isn't the only excitement
Oh
that we
my
have
God.
today. Just confirmation there. A gorgeous view of planet Earth behind the ship.
Saved.
And it is now in the orbit that we expected it to. This is just an incredible day. Live views there. as the booster vents some pressures there.
Look at
That
it.
is a live view from the top of the tower looking at the chopsticks.
I am still in disbelief. I'm trying to catch my tears just like the chopsticks atop the booster. It has been nonstop since liftoff. And we are all so excited about everything that's been happening so far this morning. With the booster having completed its job for today, we are going to take a short break for the next 30 minutes. We'll return back at T plus 40 minutes while the ship continues to coast before re-entry.
Oh man, and as with previous flights, Starlink may actually enable us to talk with the ship through re-entry with no communication blackout. We of course are still testing Starlink during this phase of flight, so nothing is certain, but if we do have views, we'll be sure to bring those to you live.
Views or no views, we'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes for coverage of Starship's re-entry, flip maneuver, landing burn, and splashdown.
That's... like, that's cool. But, like... oh my god. That's... that's absolutely insane. That was so smooth! Let me pull up. We'll look at people's cameras capturing it in a minute. We'll look at that. But look at it! Okay, so hold on. We're gonna look at this.
We're now down to 3
Okay.
Raptor engines. We can see those
Look.
chopsticks now
It almost hit the tower when it's seeing people.
Booster running current shutdown.
Micadilla has caught the booster.
Damn, going crazy.
This is absolutely insane. On the first ever attempt, we have successfully caught the super heavy booster back at the launch tower.
Booster running current.
Like, look at the swing.
Booster running current shutdown.
Micadilla has caught the booster.
Booster running current
The swing
shutdown.
can disconnect.
Micadilla has caught the booster.
Poor Dan's screaming.
This is absolutely insane. On the first ever attempt, we have successfully caught the super heavy booster.
Okay, and now... oh my god, that's just crazy. Like, we knew it was a strong chance in being able to do it. But actually seeing it happen is something totally different. Is that part of the... is that a part of the booster missing? Why can't I... it's just me that can't hear it. They're definitely talking, right? I don't know, is that just me? Okay, I can still hear it. But for some reason... I can't hear it. Okay, let's watch. Why can't I hear it? Okay, hold on. This is weird. Straight away, Jesse on the break. Just commenting on it. Why can't I hear it? That's super weird. I can hear that. Oh, that's why.
Actually landed successfully. I
Go for catch.
In order to
Guys, we should just be about 30 seconds.
Look at the fire between all the engines.
It's going to happen in 3 phases.
kidding me?
This is the tracking cameras.
Follow that velocity. Oh, we can see it coming down through the plume.
Oh
Look at his
my
face.
god.
Booster coming
Look at
in
the face.
hot for booster catch.
No way.
13 of those Raptor engines, and this view is incredible right now.
No way, Ryan. Yes!
See how fast this vehicle
No
is moving
freaking way.
on the left hand.
Oh my god.
Oh. The chopsticks moving as soon as it.
We can see those chopsticks
First ever attempt and they caught it. We better have more cameras for the ship landing.
I can't believe that.
Dan, I don't know about you, but we're losing our stuff up here.
I need to find this one.
I had the booster nearly.
Alex, that looks like it's from the planning thing. All the photographers follow the booster.
Wow. I messed
You can do it. Look at how hard it is. Oh! Ignition!
That's the 13.
They did it on the first try! How did they do that? What? There's a fire at the bottom. It's on the chopsticks. Look, that side it's not resting on the grid fins.
And the other, I think, is also fine.
We'll see if we can get a different angle here.
The fire is almost out.
Well, I hope it goes out.
How did this just happen?
No way! You gotta be kidding me.
Did I just scream?
Are we just? Is this? Is this for real?
Huh?
Okay, here's another angle. This is gonna be from the southern side.
It's a bit angled.
Hey. Look at that. There's a close-up of the fire. All right.
All right. It's not.
Alex, that looks like it's from the cutie area.
Yeah. And I sort of expected something like this. It is the first attempt. First attempts tend to be
not
a
on the
bit more
grid fin there.
fiery.
Keep going.
Yeah.
It's straight. It's actually on the landing pins.
Look at that. So this would be a little bit of a methane leak coming out. Those are the connections where they fill the ship, right? They put the propellants into the ship there down at the bottom. Looks like a leak is happening over there. Some things sort of cascading off the bottom there as well. Fire on that side as well.
How did
it
would
be for the engines that's coming off?
The fire extinguisher system, as I called it earlier, the fire suppression system might be running here to be able to
think
put
that's
out.
down at the bottom?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's probably what we're seeing here.
Yep.
Meanwhile, by the way, the
Exactly.
ship is in its trajectory. It has shut down its engines. It is right on trajectory. It is coasting in space.
Look
And
at
nominal
this.
insertion
Look
as well. It's right on target for that entry in the Indian
like
Ocean. Wow.
flames are they're decreasing, then a little spurt comes out, then they're decreasing.
I'm getting closer to the point calling this good.
There's still ice on the bottom of it.
Yeah, you can see how much propellant
They're
is still
safe in the
left.
booster, by the way. Maybe if we
Okay.
can show the top of the booster or the top of the tanks. They are depressing. They are safe in the vehicle. That's good. That's what we want.
Yeah, okay. I have to admit, I didn't see this coming.
I did. I said before the launch, if they do go for a catch, it's gonna hit that landing, and it did.
It caught by the pins.
So, how calm was the reaction on social media?
Look at that, though.
Oh, jeez. Oh, look, and here's the ship.
Very calm and very.
We still like. I know you're all already are through a roller coaster of emotions right now. I'm just saying we still have a re-entry of a new TPS for.
Well, I'm gonna go on my rig for however long this is. Hold on, let me. Okay. That. I didn't expect it to actually perfectly do it. On the first ever try. Perfect catch. Okay, so. We're at. We're at 20 minutes right now. So, about 25 minutes before re-entry. Scheduled re-entry. So, right now, I'm going to go on my break for a couple minutes. And I will be back, hopefully, to watch a good re-entry. Because that itself is absolutely insane. But, yeah, I'll be back, and you get to listen to the SpaceX jams. I'll be back.
Welcome back to Starship's 5th flight test. It has been an exciting day so far. Even the crowd here is still so excited. We lifted off from Starbase at 7:25 a.m. Central Time. The Super Heavy booster and ship had a successful separation, as well as a good boost back burn and good separation of the hot stage adapter. The Super Heavy booster then completed the landing burn with 13 Raptor engines igniting and slowing down the vehicle perfectly for Mechazilla to catch the Super Heavy booster for the first ever land recovery of the vehicle.
Now, it is insane to think that we're not done yet. We still have, in about 48 minutes, the ship will re-enter. The flap, all the flaps that will today, not that could. The ship will re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. Now, as a reminder, one of the main goals of today's test flight is for the ship to make it through the extreme heat of re-entry and to do so in a controlled manner. We learned a lot about this phase during Flight 4 and, as a result, completely reworked the heat shield, but more on all that in just a minute. Now, re-entry is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with the spacecraft because re-entering, it'll be re-entering at about 8 kilometers per second, or about 5 miles per second of roughly orbital velocity. Now, those speeds, the spacecraft moving through the atmosphere results in friction and creates a plasma field around the vehicle. We saw this in action on Flight 4 thanks to Starlink, and wow, it was breathtaking. The blanket of plasma ends up distorting communication frequency, so it's not uncommon to experience brief blackouts in communication, but hopefully that's not the case today.
And Kate, that's where Starlink has just kind of been just the unsung hero and the MVP of this test campaign. I mean, it's able to give us data, not just awesome video, but also data in real time as we're going through re-entry. I mean, this is something that throughout the history of spaceflight just hasn't been possible. And this is an environment that is so unforgiving, so hard to model, so hard to understand. And for the first time ever, we're able to literally watch as it unfolds in real time, get that data in real time. And we're able to do that with Starlink. And it's great for us because we get to see something. We get to see the greatest light show on the planet or off the planet. But what it means for this program, we're able to learn tremendous amounts about our heat shield, our angle of attack, everything that we're doing as we're coming in through the atmosphere at hypersonic speeds. And
everything's looking good so far.
You can't just thank it enough. And also, special shout out, you're going to see some additional flap camera views. We've got a really amazing team of avionics, cameras, electronics, software people who made all that possible. And so hopefully they're going to give us an even better show on the way in today as we're coming in at about 5 times the speed of sound.
Yeah, those flaps, Dan, that you see there, that's what's helping.
Starship is in a good attitude for entry, approaching the entry interface.
Yeah.
And some good call-outs there, preparing for re-entry for Starship. And again, that's what Dan was mentioning, those flaps on the vehicle. And if you've been watching us for the last few minutes, you can see that the flaps were rotating around and helping orient the vehicle as it prepares for the beginning of re-entry today.
Yeah, exactly. Re-entry will be enabled by that heat shield that you see on the bottom half. That heat shield is made up of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles, and they are designed to insulate the vehicle during atmospheric entry. At that point in time, temperatures can be as high as 26,000 degrees Fahrenheit or about 1,400 degrees Celsius. The design itself also permits for rapid reuse with no refurbishment between the flights. And fun fact that I think is just incredible in terms of scale, but the heat shield alone on the ship has a total mass of 10.5 tons, which is crazy because these things are really lightweight. They're made out of ceramic. We have a couple of them here. The one that I'm holding is used on flat surfaces, as let's see if we go that way, because as it's flat. The one that Jesse has is kind of more what you see there on the side.
Yeah, exactly. And having these different shapes, the
Godzilla.
flat version and the curved version, allow us to cover a lot more of the surface area of the vehicle. Again, we need to protect every portion of it. So even
cool 'cause the
even those
camera
curved
that we're looking at,
surfaces, and especially the
looking
hinge
through,
area,
is mounted to the
if
flap.
you watch Flight
So when
4,
the flap moves,
is
you
really
move
what we
those.
want to make sure that we protect. And yeah, Kate, these are very,
Super
very lightweight.
But when you put 18,000 of them together, they add up to 10.5 tons, which is incredible. Now, we did mention earlier that the heat shield has been completely reworked.
Starship has entered the atmosphere, remains on a nominal entry trajectory.
We can start to see that plasma now starting to build up on the side. It's not quite full plasma yet, but we are starting to see that color indicate that the heat is building up on the heat shield.
Yeah, this is such a cool sight to see because you really never really have gotten to see this live before flight
Before Flight 4.
Yeah. And as Kate mentioned, it's getting a little more red, as you can see there on your screen. That means that heat is building up. But that's exactly what these heat shield tiles are there for, is to protect against this plasma and this really, really extreme heat that the vehicle is going to see for about the next 10 more minutes or so.
Yeah, so the ship will attempt to light the 3 center Raptor engines, and those are the engines that can gimbal or maneuver or point, and they do that to help flip the ship until the engines point down so that it can land using the Raptor's thrust in the ocean. So that will happen after we get through this re-entry period. Again, now starting to see, and we also might start to see the flaps actuate a little bit here as the vehicle controls its role during re-entry. That was one of the main learning points from Flight 3 was the roll control didn't work quite as well as we wanted it to. We learned that we needed some redundancies, so we added more roll control thrusters, and we'll see those in action as well today, as that was a Flight 3 learning that worked better on Flight 4 and still enabling that same design today.
Yeah.
Starship has passed through 85 kilometers altitude. Flaps now have control of the vehicle.
Great call out, as Kate mentioned, the flaps are controlling the attitude of the vehicle. And I love these views because it looks so calm. Everything is relative, right? So relative to this camera on the ship, it looks so calm and smooth, but the vehicle is traveling extremely fast. You can see the speed on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Starship is designed to land on Mars where there are no runways or other humans to help out. So we also want rapid reusability. So we're doing propulsive landing instead of a more traditional means like parachutes. And so we will use the engines on this vehicle to help slow the vehicle down for a vertical landing.
Yeah. Now, entry is going to basically happen in 5 phases. The first is low drag. That lasts for about 3 minutes. Next is high heating, and that beginning when heating increases above the heat rate breakup limit. That lasts for about 10 minutes. We then have high dynamic pressure. Starship will continue to slow down and experience increased aerodynamic loads during that phase. And that will happen before reaching Mach 1, about a minute after.
Starship is approaching the peak heating phase of entry, remains on a nominal trajectory.
Okay, so that was phase 2 that he just called out that I was mentioning.
Oh,
After peak heating is that dynamic pressure around Mach 1, and that will last about a minute after leaving the hypersonic area, and then we go into subsonic, and then, of course, landing burn. Wow, what an incredible view.
The colors are so amazing, and the colors actually also tell you a little bit about the temperature that the vehicle is seeing as well. So I think that's pretty cool that we get this amazing live visual.
Speaking of live visual, the flap, we have more views, more cameras on board Starship, as Dan mentioned a few minutes ago. We are hoping that all 4 flaps will stay more intact than they did last time. We did make some changes to the design in order to help enable
Starship
this.
is now experiencing peak heating, remains on a nominal entry trajectory.
Great
hopefully
news
this
there
time things
that Starship is continuing along the path that we intended it to fly. You can keep track with how fast it's going and how high it is above Earth using the display that is there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen.
And guys, this is where we're really going to see a lot of those improvements from Flight 4 really come into action. Is you guys kind of talked about, so what's called the static arrow. Those are kind of the poke out points on the flaps. Those get exposed to some pretty extreme heat environments, and so we added some additional, basically made it a lot more robust for the thermal protection there. And we learned not just from visuals and stuff like that. We had those missing tile tests on Flight 4 where we intentionally left some out, kept in some backup layers. They're called ablatives, which means they just gradually melt away to help dissipate the heat. And we've got an entire layer of ablative underneath the tiles on this Starship today. So even if you get a gap in a tile or a tile is broken, anything like that, we've got essentially backup options. And what we're really trying to do today is do an on-target landing. As we lost the flaps, you lose a lot of your control, and so we didn't land right on target last flight. This time we're trying to really nail the target within just tens of meters.
Hopefully,
and that'll just be a really huge step on feeling like we're closer to bringing a ship back. Obviously, there's a lot of work before we get there, but we just caught a booster. We're going to start looking real soon at when we can catch a ship.
So the view on your left is as a helicopter passes by Dan, bound at Starbase. The view on your left is a camera that's positioned near the nose of the ship, looking basically down toward the flap. The view on the right is looking perpendicular to the flap. So we're looking basically bird's eye view onto the flap on the left-hand side, and then a worm's eye view from the side with that view on the right.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Maverick just buzzed the tower. He might be coming back, so.
Now, these views brought to us by Starlink. It's incredible that we have this high definition capability. In fact, that view on the left.
Starship is now halfway through the peak heating phase of entry, remains on a good trajectory.
Good to hear.
So great news there, hearing that we're about halfway through the peak heating phase. Like I said earlier, this lasts roughly 10-ish minutes. And we did hear earlier that the flaps have control of the vehicle, so also good news there. You know, it is incredible that we've basically had views the entire time.
Right, yeah.
Although
thanks to Starlink.
my memory did black out a little bit after booster catch, so I think we had views. But, you know, all through the coast phase, we had some beautiful views of planet Earth behind the ship as it was in its orbit.
Yeah, and I also do want to point out on your right-hand screen, we've got a more encompassed view of the flap. As we watched in Flight 4, the hinge area was the area where we got a little bit of that burn through. This view, this new camera view on the ship will help us be able to visually see more of what's happening in that area. And again, we have improved our heating tiles, and so hopefully we've protected the hinge a lot better this time.
Chill has started.
But again, these views are additional to the data that we get on these flight tests that help enable us kind of put the data that we get in the computer to the visuals that we see and try and align those and use that for improvements in the future.
Now, we heard a call out there saying that engine chill has begun. This is an indication that we are starting to flow a little bit of the super cold liquid oxygen through the hardware, through the Raptor engine, specifically the turbo pumps, to help ensure that the hardware is at the right temperature before we give a full push, a full flow of propellant at engine startup. So all of that to say, we are getting closer to the landing burn.
We definitely are. And again, if you look at the bottom right hand of your screen, you can see the altitude that the ship is, and it has been slowly making its way closer and closer to Earth. We're currently at about 63 kilometers from planet Earth, and you'll see that number trend lower and lower as we get closer and continue through this reentry.
Yeah, this is going to go on for a little, actually a while longer. We have about 10 minutes or so, roughly, before we execute the landing, the ignition for the landing burn, starting with the landing flip. So we're making a controlled reentry. This is one of the primary objectives for Starship today, is to demonstrate another controlled reentry, even more controlled than what we saw on Flight 4. And so far, that is looking good.
These random bursts of flame that you see are chunks coming off.
And
then
as
they have backups, but
as we start to really get lower, we're going to start seeing the atmosphere's effects start to take place, and that's when we'll be dropping our speed down closer to the speed of sound. You'll see the flaps start to maneuver. We were able to do a landing burn on Flight 4, which kind of caught all of us off guard. It was pretty incredible after seeing the flaps survive through. And we're going to try and do another one on this flight today. We tweaked it a little bit, so we're going to try and splash down at a little bit of a gentler angle this time, instead of just kind of hit the water and fall over. And the goal with that is try and keep the ship intact, and then if we're able to then get some additional video of it, again, that's just more data, and everything we can see, everything we can get extra, like a couple extra seconds or minutes of data coming from the ship after
Starship has
splashdown.
passed through the peak heating phase of flight, approaching maximum entry dynamic pressure.
All right, we're through peak heating. Coming up is basically max Q part 2.
It looks so nice from here, and then you can hear it's just
we're going to hit kind of that part of the curve where we're still moving really fast, and the atmosphere is just dense enough that we're feeling the most pressure. But hopefully we're going to start feeling a little bit less heat now.
Looks like we got more views of each of the flaps on the ship as it's making its way back down to Earth.
But we didn't know how the other flaps were doing last time.
And we did pass through peak heating and still got really good views throughout that whole period. Typically, during the highest heat on the vehicle, we tend to build up a lot of plasma, and that's typically when we would lose, connection or views of the vehicle. But again, with Starlink, we were able to get some live views throughout that entire process there.
Have a tracking shot of it going through re-entry.
And we're coming up. We'll start hearing a couple more milestones in about 4 minutes or so when we start getting down to like the transonic, the subsonic, when we're starting to move closer to and beneath the speed of sound. And I mean, we're getting live views, we're getting live data. We've got a couple additional tests on this one today where we left off some missing tiles again to test some additional backup layers. We also have, I don't know if we can still quite see them in this view, but you may have noticed we had some kind of silvery looking tiles on Starship as well. And those were pretty much standard tiles, but they were wrapped in aluminum. And it was a pretty simplistic, straightforward one where aluminum starts to melt at roughly the same temperature where steel starts to lose its strength, not necessarily melt. And so if we see stuff melting, we know.
Uh-oh. It's going right through the flap again.
We know what our steel is going to be exposed to. But yeah, 59 minutes since launch should be coming
Same
up
as last time.
On transonic and everything in just about 3 minutes.
Same
now the views here, we have coverage of all 4 flaps.
I don't like that.
We can see, so for those that perhaps didn't catch a glimpse of the vehicle before liftoff, there are 2 flaps at the forward end and 2 flaps at the aft end. The larger camera view that is there on the right-hand side of your screen, that is a view of one of the aft end or the bottom end flaps.
I want to see if
We can start to see some
WB
heat buildup and
57s are
peeking
still
through on one of the flaps there in the top left-hand corner of your screen.
WB57s are still up. Oh no. WB57s
Once again,
are
Starship
turning
now
back to
at T plus 1 hour and 9 seconds
longer.
into its flight today, re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Currently about 45 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, now 44. We are targeting a soft splashdown in the Indian Ocean, about, northwest-ish of Australia. And we
This
are
is a great
attempting
thing.
to, as we did on Flight 4,
In the
make
air.
perform a flip maneuver as well as a...
Starship is at maximum entry dynamic pressure, remains on a good trajectory.
Whoa.
All right, so that is
Those trunks
great news
flying.
there. Like Dan said earlier, this is basically Max Q Part 2. So this is the greatest amount
Those trunks flying.
of aerodynamic loads that the vehicle will experience during its flight. It's coming back through the Earth's atmosphere. It was above the Earth's atmosphere in space where there was no friction. We can obviously see heat as evidence of that friction buildup. The atmosphere is actually helping to slow the vehicle down. If you're watching the telemetry in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you can see that speed decelerating rapidly.
It's going through it.
Now, the 4 flaps on the ship help
Still
steer
one
the
piece.
vehicle, and one of the main objectives for the ship today is to demonstrate controlled re-entry during this phase of
Less than
flight,
5
this
minutes away
re-entry
from
phase.
less than 4.
Yeah, and we have 6 engines on ship, but we only need 3 of them, the 3 sea-level engines. We will have that flip maneuver happen very close to touching down for splashdown. We'll do that flip maneuver, ignite those engines, slow the vehicle down immediately, and then hopefully have what we call a soft splashdown in the water. It's probably going to feel a little bit harder on the top of the surface of the water, but it'll look pretty gentle.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, we hope to have some more views,
Darkness
even
before.
of that phase of the flight. So fingers crossed that we can we can bring
flip
those
only
to you.
starts at,
We
3
are
or 4 kilometers
hoping
away.
to splash down softer than we did last time on Flight 4. Right now, Starship continuing to make its descent back to
Starship
planet
is
Earth.
at Mach 2, remains on a good trajectory.
All right, great news there. That tells us that the vehicle is traveling twice the speed of sound. So we will then, the next call out that we'll hear is that it is, traveling about the speed of sound. And then we will hear a call out that that will be the call out that it is transonic. And then we
down
will
here, I
hear
have the
another
entire
call
thing,
out
so right
saying that it
now-
is subsonic, meaning going slower
That's the
than the
wrong
speed
thing.
of sound.
Starship is transonic.
There it is. So at this point in time, we say transonic because certain parts of the vehicle, like the flap that you see on your screen, might be experiencing airflow faster than the speed of sound, while other parts of the ship may be experiencing airflow.
Starship is in the subsonic belly flop.
All right, so now the entire vehicle is traveling slower than the speed of sound, so subsonic. The crowd here at Mission Control Hawthorne also getting excited, just like us. We're awaiting a water landing. We are going to reignite the 3 engines to perform that flip maneuver, and we're basically about a minute and a half, away from the landing flip.
Yeah, the crowd's getting excited here as we get closer and closer to splashdown. Again, just about a minute away from the expected splashdown, so we should see a lot happening coming up here shortly. We're currently having a view of one of the flaps, and it is a little bit dark on your screen, but hopefully we'll get some good views of the ship as it makes that flip maneuver and touchdown for splashdown.
Yeah,
yeah, guys, we saw that speed drop like a rock. So we're doing a belly flip right now, or a belly flop right now. That's what's kind of, if you saw the high altitude campaign, that's the unique thing about how Starship comes back. So we've bled off pretty much all of the speed we're going to. We're essentially at terminal velocity.
Starship is at 5 kilometers altitude, remains on target.
5 Five to go. Coming up soon. Landing burn.
Buckle up. Here we go.
2
An hour, 5 in,
kilometers
2
away.
kilometers, couple seconds.
Starship is on target. Approaching landing burn startup.
1
So
kilometer.
keep an eye on the bottom right-hand side of your screen as well. That will be the indicator when the Raptor engines ignite, if we are unable to see that illumination ourselves.
Landing burn
0
startup.
kilometers. Here we go. Flip.
What a cool view of the reflection of that landing burn.
You can see the water.
It's
just
sliding sideways. We're good.
Starship is landing.
I did it. Will it cut out as soon as it hits the water?
I think it is safe to
No!
say we have a ship in
It survived.
Touchdown!
That is a live
Oh!
ocean surface.
It did explode.
What an incredible end
Oh.
to Starship's journey. A live view
Why didn't they show
from
this
a
camera
buoy
as
that
well?
we had out at the landing zone.
It's
An incredible view of
it
ship
did explode as it hit the
landing
water, but
just
it
about on
survived it.
target as they were calling out.
That was amazing. And we were not intending to recover any of the ship's hardware, so that was the best ending that we could have hoped for.
It survived it. It survived the actual landing, but it exploded as it flopped down to the.
I don't think we're going to be able to get a ton of extra video of the heat
Oh.
shield, but we hit the target. We hit the target. Yeah. I mean, you know we hit the
did it.
target because we had these buoys placed in a pretty specific spot, so wow.
Yeah. That's
What a day. I feel like that's all. That's what I get to say. What a day. I mean, everything started off today with that launch. We were able to lift off towards the end of our window, 7:25 a.m. Central Time. 33 out of 33 Raptors in the way uphill. Successful hot stage. Booster came back. We watched it come down.
Booster landed. Booster
right behind us.
Booster still in the
Watched
tower.
it get caught. And that broke my brain for a while.
Booster's
I'm
still
really
in the
happy we
arms.
had coast for a bit, but
The
that's
ship landed
first
on
ever
target.
booster catch, major step in the way to
Survived
rapid
the
reusability.
start. They might have
And
triggered
ship
FTS.
just gave us one heck of a show, making it through a controlled re-entry this time. Flaps
The ship
intact,
might have.
made
They
it
might
down
have
to the
triggered
water.
FTS for it, but
Hey, starships
knows?
were meant to fly, and it sure as hell flew today. So let's get ready for the next one. Over to you guys.
They were meant to fly, and they were also meant to be caught by Mechazilla.
Yeah.
It's been such an incredible day today. Congratulations to our teammates and to everyone who supported the Starship program. And thank you to all of our future customers for your support. And we'll also like to thank the people of Cameron County, Texas, as well as the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, the Government of
Surprised
Mexico,
that they
and
did
the
make this
Australian
thing.
Space Agency.
Now be sure to follow SpaceX on X for more
Yeah, 'cause
updates
none of
on
the coast
today's
guards,
test flight and of course for future Starship news. Today was amazing, but the SpaceX action isn't over yet. Soon Falcon Heavy will launch NASA's Europa Clipper, and we're also going to be returning Dragon back to Earth with NASA's Crew 8 astronauts. So
That was also supposed to be
congratulations
happening
again
today,
to the SpaceX team. What an amazing launch
Falcon Heavy
and
launch and
an
Crew Dragon was
even
supposed to be
cooler
undocking and
catch.
launching today.
Thank you for
And they had to
watching,
push it back
but
'cause obviously
we're
they
going to
had a
leave
lot
you
of time
with
taken
an
up on this.
awesome recap of what has been the most epic day.
Look at that. Some cameras that we haven't seen. Look at that. The angle on that. Oh. Was that Godzilla doing the moonwalk? What? Why is Godzilla doing a moonwalk? That's... I don't think anyone expected to be that successful. That is... Oh. Well... That, I'm surprised with how much they actually got there. That's...
Scared of the water, you're safe by the
Oh my god, why is this not with me? Can I have some good songs, please? Yeah, that's alright. Well, I don't think anyone expected it to be that successful. That is something I don't think anyone expected. Yeah, I don't think anyone expected that good of an outcome of this launch. Good catch, good ship landing. They might have triggered FDS for the ship after, like they might have purposely exploded it when it landed. I don't think they did because they said they wanted to keep the ship intact on landing. But it's... I need to go look at some recaps from this because they have to have... Touchdown confirmed. Congratulations, A6 team, an exciting 5th flight test of Starship. Yeah, it's... Yeah, like that. Like, just that picture. They caught in the arms with the sunset, and it's just good morning. That's... Let's see. Somehow it's not trending, number 1. It will be very soon. No doubt about it. Let's see. It's not supposed to be Blue Origin launch. Is the booster still in the arms? That's my question. Booster is still in the arms! Booster's still looking good. Booster's just hanging there. Imagine if the chopsticks, like the system shut down and they couldn't move it. It was just stuck up at the top of the tower. Let's see. The Origin's supposed to be launching as well. This playlist is like... You know what? Yeah, hold on. Let's see. Why? This is literally a Twitch playlist. Let's see. Okay. The Origin's supposed to be launching New Shepard. Was it pushed back again? It was. Let's see. Launch hold, of course. And origin. Let's see. They're in a hold again. The same thing. They're going to delay again like they did last time. Yeah, that was. Imagine not knowing there's a launch or something, and you just look outside and there's a big booster coming down. Oh yeah, Europa Clipper is it's launching tomorrow. Okay. Well, yeah, but I think that's what I'm leaving. What's that? I think that's a great way to sum it off. Okay. Well, thank you everyone that was watching this very exciting stream. I didn't expect it to actually land, both parts of it. Like that, I didn't expect it to actually catch the booster perfectly. No explosion, no damage, no nothing. But it did. Same with Starship. Good re-entry. Couple of trials come off. But it looked perfectly intact. Yeah. Everything went well. The Starship did explode after it already landed though. It landed and then exploded, so they could have triggered the FTS, could have purposely detonated it. We don't know that until like the review comes out, but there shouldn't be too long of a wait between now and the next launch, because the license that SpaceX got for this launch was it excluded engine failure, heat shield tile failure, or flat failure. It allowed all them to fail without having to get a investigation. So it should be less than a month before the next one, hopefully. Ideally, because it's up to SpaceX, because the license they got allows Flight 6 to have the same profile as this, but if they want to change it again, they'll have to get another license, because it has to be edited. So hopefully, if they want to do the same thing as they did today, next month they can, because it's under the same license. So hopefully they keep the same. They won't take too long to launch. And it might be a while. That might be when I stream next. I don't know. But yeah. So thank you to everyone that was watching today. Witnessed pretty much history at this point. A 90-ton, whatever weight the booster is, on 2 chopsticks. Live, which is insane. So thank you to everyone that was watching, and I'll see you again next time.
Then later on the drive home, I called her mom from a payphone. I said I was the cops and your husband's in jail. The state looks down on sodomy, and that's about the time that bitch hung up on me. Nobody likes you when you're 23, and I still wanna lose my bank phone calls. What the hell is call ID? My friends say I should have my age. What's my age again? What's my age again? And that's about the time she walked away from me. Nobody likes you when you're 23, and you still act like you're in freshman year. What the hell is wrong with me? My friends say I should have my age. What's my age again? That's about the time that she
dreamed my whole life about being on this stage. God bless y'all for being